Right, long before U2, Riverdance and the Celtic Tiger, Ireland had an international singing superstar. His name was John McCormack. His fantastic voice captured the imagination of America and beyond in the first half of the century. Now his memory is being honoured in a special documentary, and I'm joined this morning by one of John's biggest fans, Tenor Kearns, who we've met before on the show, of course, and Gordon Ledbetter, who has written extensively on McCormack's career. Before we talk to both of them, here's a clip from the documentary.
Before Elvis Presley, before Sinatra and Crosby, there was John McCormack. He was a phenomenon of his times. He packed out concert halls on both sides of the Atlantic, and his records in the 1920s, said the critic Max de Charency, were as common in the American home as Father's slippers by the fire.
Thou would still be adored as this moment thou art. Let thy love.
In his heyday, and at the height of his powers, it was as beautiful as that kind of a voice could be, I think.
He sang from the soul, and he told a great story, and he had a palette of colours like the artist.
If John McCormack is remembered because of the seamless, wonderful tonality that he had and his facility, that in itself has heralded him one of the greatest ever tenors in the world. Forget about being Irish.
And as I said, we're joined by Anthony Kearns and Gordon Ledbetter. Good morning to you both, gentlemen. Gordon, I'll start with you because you have the sort of the historical perspective on him, and also you've written a book on him. It is quite hard. I mean, when we say international singing superstar now, we kind of think of, oh, he was like Bono in his day. But what we don't take on board is that this is an age of mass media. You can do one satellite broadcast and 500 million people can see you. So you instantly become a superstar. He did this the hard way. He got out there and he sang to millions of people, and his reputation spread by word of mouth and by sheer hard work. So the scale of his fame was extraordinary at the time. I mean, who else would there have been in the world to compare with him? Caruso?
Caruso, probably, and a singer who's now totally forgotten, Alma Gluck. They were the three mainstays of the RCA Victor catalogue. McCormack and Caruso, of course, remembered, but for some reason or other, Alma Gluck isn't. But the difference between McCormack and any modern superstar is the fact that he appealed to everyone right across, you know, it didn't matter what age they were, what background, McCormack appealed to everyone. That was one difference. The other difference is he sang so-called classical music and he sang popular music. And he was, if you like, both sides of the same coin. Today you're either a serious singer or a pop singer. So McCormack was both. He was a pop singer and a classical singer.
Is the fact that he sold popular songs, and I suppose sold out in modern parlance, is that the reason why maybe his legacy is not as cherished today as, say, for example, Caruso's is?
Well, I think actually he is as cherished as Caruso. You know, amongst record collectors and aficionados in America, he is actually very well remembered. I think partly one of his problems might be that he represents rural Ireland, you know, the ballads, and to some extent
the Touralura factor. The Touralura factor.
Yeah, and I think to some extent people want to get away from that. You know, they want to be international sophisticates, and they regard Irish ballads as unsophisticated. But I mean, his singing of Irish ballads was supreme. He sang them just as well as he sang Mozart.
Musical snobbery when people look at his legacy. Anthony, from a technical point of view, you're a singer and a very successful one. Technically, how good was he?
Well, from the recordings that I can make out, he seemed to have a great technique. I mean, his famous, I suppose, recording in opera would be Il mio tesoro from Don Giovanni, and it's a seamless line. It's a wonderful technique to carry that phrasing all the way through. As somebody said on the recording of it, many tenors have tried it, but some have come to strangulation, trying to sing the phrasing that he sang. It's very, very difficult. I mean, he had a wonderful range of voice, but he used his voice very well, and he told a story, and the words were very important. And the impression was he made people feel that he was singing one-on-one, you know.
But of course, the thing that makes a superstar is not just the technical gifts. That's a given. You
it's
accept.
Part of it. They're the tools.
And the technique and all the rest of it. The X factor, as they now call it, the charisma that allows you to fill a hall with 12,000 people and hold it in the palm of your hand with just a piano and your voice. No microphones, no screens, no
flashing lights or
Disney dust, smoke or mirrors.
Right.
I mean, it's very hard for us to understand now what that was like, not being in his physical presence, but he obviously must have had that in abundance.
No question about it. Clearly, he had a great personality, and people liked that. And at the time, I suppose, people who would have liked to have heard songs from the homeland, certainly people who had emigrated, and he brought not just Irish people, they felt a connection with the songs. You know, they were true-to-life songs. There were history recorded, and he was telling the story honestly, and people love that, I think. They like the honesty of his singing.
Gordon, did he have any artistic qualms himself about the sort of success he achieved and how he achieved it, i.e. with the Tour Allura factor? Did he ever think, I really should be singing in Covent Garden and La Scala only, and but on the other hand, I'm getting $1 million a year for singing ballads? And
No, I don't think he had any regrets about...
taking the 30 pieces of silver, so to speak.
about singing in the concert hall as opposed to opera. But there were critics who were very critical about the stuff he was recording. Now, if you look at his concert programs, he sang everything. He sang Handel, he sang Mozart, even he sang Bach on the concert platform, along with the ballads. But his discography, his records, 800 records, almost all of them come from the ballad and the popular stuff. He sang Irving Berlin, he sang Sonny Boy, he recorded that. And there are only about 2 or 3, you know, Anthony said about Il mio tesoro, greatest Mozart record probably ever made. He only made one Mozart recording in his prime, and that was Il mio tesoro.
It is, again, when we say he was an international singing star, I mean, the level of his success at the time was absolutely staggering. I mean, you're talking about $1 million a year now would be a lot of money. In the 20s, I don't know what the modern equivalent of that would be, but I mean, it's anything, it's comparable with the U2s, or the biggest stars in the world. Well, to sing to 1 million people at the Eucharistic Congress, I don't think there's any modern performer who could do that. Certainly with what, just a piano and or even an orchestra and himself? No major amplification?
Yeah, live audience. Directly in front of you.
I mean, just from a performing point of view, there can't be too many performers in the history of performing who've managed to do something like that and carry it off.
Well, I mean, to give you some idea of his pulling power, he made one feature film, and the contract was for 6 weeks' work, and he got paid $500,000 in 1929.
So,
now, you know, a contract for...
Do you do the sums on that now?
Yeah. Well, this would be in an era when the biggest movie stars in the world would have been paid maybe $5,000 or $10,000 a week.
Sure.
And that was the money that he got. So, that's extraordinary.
I take that money today if I'm going for 6 weeks.
You and me both, pal. I'd fight you for it. This is long overdue, this DVD, available in all good record stores. And, of course, there was a concert recently. And, Anthony, you were just mentioning that you were going to do something very short.
I am, actually. I'm on Sunday night in Wicklow Town at the Grand Hotel. I'm doing a concert, and a lot of the repertoire that I perform, a lot of the repertoire that McCormack would have performed. That's where I got my songs from, effectively. So I'll be doing that
Well, with the upsurge in popularity of the tenors, the Celtic, the Tree, the El Divo and all the rest of it, there's a huge audience out there for this. And this is one of the godheads of this kind of...
No question of it. This is the man that started the whole thing, certainly in the Irish music scene, took the ballad out of the pub and elevated it to the rightful place on the platform.
OK. Thank you very much indeed. Nice to meet you.